You're thinking about studying accounting at university. What are your options and what sort of things should you ask when you go to university open days? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer those questions for those interested in studying accounting in the Sydney metropolitan region, but a lot of the hints and tips we have here will be useful no matter where you're looking at studying at university. So let's get into it. If you're looking at coming to university in Australia, there are many different options in terms of the ways you can study accounting. Today I'm going to cover the different options available at university. Now, our university degrees are typically 3 years, with a combined degree options in some instances of 5 years. In the Sydney metropolitan area, we have 5 main universities. The one where I teach, the University of Technology, Sydney, the University of Sydney, the University of New South Wales, Macquarie University, and Western Sydney University. So those are our main 5 on-campus places where you can study accounting here in the Sydney metropolitan region. There are also smaller in-person or on-campus experiences available at the Australian Catholic University in North Sydney and also the University of Notre Dame, just down sort of in between UTS and Sydney. Now, looking at the university's admissions guide, the UAT guide, you might notice that there are a number of other universities that are also based in Sydney. Almost all of the 43 universities in Australia do have Sydney campuses where you can study accounting. Most of those universities that are not native to Sydney tend to have those campuses populated by international students. So that's one thing to consider when you're choosing your university degree. Now, out of all of the universities, all 43 Australian universities are accredited with Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand and CPA Australia, and also the IPA. So no matter which professional body you're looking at getting into after graduation, if you study accounting at all of the Australian universities, they're all accredited. That's really important because you need to make sure that you're choosing the right subjects that will allow you to go into your CA, CPA, or IPA pathway. Now, of course, there's another video I've got about which of those qualification options is best for you. You can check out the link up there and I'll put it in the description as well. Accounting is a really great set of subjects that can be combined with other areas of study. For example, if you're interested in marketing, you might study accounting as well, so that when you're developing marketing plans, you understand the financial basis underlying those. At my university at UTS, the accounting and finance combination is the most popular combination studied by students at university, and I suspect it would be similar at UNSW, Macquarie, Sydney, and WSU. But it's worth checking out at your university that you're interested in. Can you do accounting plus something else as part of a double major program? Some universities will only allow you to do a single major and then a sub-major and some general education, so check with your individual university. When I first started at university a really long time ago, every single university had exactly the same structure. We all started about the same time. Week 1 and orientation was about the same. We had our exams at about the same time. We had our breaks at about the same time. Now, however, universities are trying to distinguish themselves with slightly different teaching semesters to give students more flexibility to suit certain markets. So it's worth checking out, and I put a link to a Google Doc that I've got in the description to the video where I actually lay out all the different options. UTS has a balanced session program. That means that there are 3 official semesters. There's autumn, which is semester 1, there is spring, which is semester 2, and then there is a condensed summer session. Now, when you're looking at summer sessions at university, ask, are all the subjects offered? You might want to try and condense your degree, or what I would recommend is to study under a normal progression pattern and use your summer period to gain work or travel experience. So I mentioned UTS has this balanced session. The University of New South Wales has a 3+1 system, where at UTS the semesters are 12 weeks, at UNSW the semesters are 10 weeks and there's a shorter break between them. At UTS you'll study 4 subjects and the same at most of the other universities, but at UNSW, with their slightly condensed structure, you'll study 3 instead. So make sure that you check out the differences between UTS, Sydney University, UNSW, Macquarie and Western Sydney in the Google Doc, because if you have certain work requirements, certain travel requirements, certain family requirements, picking a semester schedule that best suits what you need is going to be really, really important. Now, at most universities, even that are on campus these days, there'll be what they call blended learning experiences. So at UTS, for example, there are some courses where parts are online and parts are in person. It's worth checking out what course options are available to you, how are they delivered. Some people might like the idea of doing lecture content online and then coming to class for tutorials. Other people want to sit in a lecture. Now, certainly coming to university for me was a really big social experience. So being able to socialize with other people was really important to me. Though as a part-time student, that was a little bit difficult because I came mostly at night. That's one other thing to think about. What are the part-time options if you're thinking about getting a job full-time and working part-time? One of the reasons I chose UTS was because it was close to where I worked at Coopers and Lybrand. I just had to walk 10 minutes down the road. I didn't have to jump on a bus to another university. So if you're thinking about going part-time, ask your university, or the university you're interested in, how many classes are offered part-time? What happens if the class is full? What sort of flexibility is there? So how do you figure out which university you want to go to? Well, there are 3 main things that you want to do. Number 1 is open days. Number 2 is looking at the university's websites. And number 3 is looking at the quilt data. And I'm going to go through each of those. Number 1, open days. Now, open days are great for freebies. You'll get to walk around campus, see what university life is like, see what sort of social activities, where is the bar, what sort of sports facilities are around. But remember, open days are designed as marketing tools by universities. So they are putting on their best, brightest, most amazing experiences. When you go to open days, it's worth talking to students who might be there volunteering. What do they think about their classes? What do they think about their teachers? Hopefully you'll get some more unbiased advice. It's also worth talking to some of the academics to try and get a feel for what their teaching might be like. Are they really passionate about the subject? Do they seem really engaging? Or are they more interested in just giving you answers out of a book? Now, I can tell you that all of the universities in Sydney do really great open days. And of course, there are really great educational experiences to be had at each of them. I know people that teach accounting at all of the 5 that I've mentioned, as well as at Notre Dame, and they're all fantastic educators. They really care about students. They really care about learning. So you've got pretty good choices here in the Sydney region. Now, the first one was open days. The second one was the university website. Now, sometimes the university websites can be a little bit difficult to manage or navigate, but it is worth looking at them before you go to the open day so that you know exactly what questions you want to ask. How long is the course? What are the options for majors? Can I do a double major? Is there any chance for part-time study? Is there any chance to go overseas on exchange? What sort of career opportunities are available? So websites are good to look at before you go to open days. The third and one of the most underrated tools is Quilt, Quality Indicators of Learning and Teaching. Quilt is actually administered by our federal government, and that website collects data from students that the government contacts after graduation and asks them about their experiences. It asks them about the facilities, about the teachers, about the learning experiences, about the resources available to them. So the Quilt website is definitely one to look into. You can search by area of study and it'll show you universities. You can pick universities and it can show you comparison charts between them all. So why do you want to go look at quilt data? Well, let me give you a story related to a friend of mine. She wanted to study a particular area of expertise. I'm not going to name that expertise or the university, but she went to the university's open day. She spoke to people. She looked at brochures. It looked fantastic according to the open day information and to the website and brochure material that she got. When she turned up to study the actual course, she found out it was really different. She found out that the way that they encouraged students to learn wasn't in line with what she was told at the open day. She really didn't enjoy the learning experience. And at that time I said, well, did you look at the Quilt website? She said, no, I didn't even know it existed. So she went back to the Quilt website and she found that student feedback and student perceptions of that course mirrored exactly what she experienced. So it's definitely worthwhile to check out Quilt. If students are having a bad experience, they'll certainly say that in their Quilt ratings, so it's worth looking at. Sometimes if you really like the look of a university but it doesn't have good Quilt ratings, then you might even call them up or ask to speak to somebody to say, well, look, things seem really great at open day, but I noticed this on the Quilt scores. What are you doing that's different, that's trying to fix that? Now, there is a bit of a lag because students graduate, then they get surveyed for Quilt, and then that data does come out a year or so later. So there is a little bit of a lag, but if universities are serious about your learning experience, then they'll be trying to do things to improve that learning experience for you. Now, certainly one thing I've noticed is that universities are no longer about content. You don't come to university to learn content because, hey, you can get that from me on YouTube and other places like MOOCs and Coursera. You come to university for the learning experiences. What's going to happen in that classroom? So it's really important that you think about those three factors when you're trying to figure out which university. Open days, website, and the Quilt data. I'll include a link to Quilt and I'll be making a video in the future about how to navigate that Quilt website and how to figure out what exactly you're looking at. So no matter where you're choosing to study accounting, I'll make sure I include a little checklist of questions I think are useful to ask at open days. Best of luck. I hope to see you studying accounting. I think it's a really great life skill, even if you don't end up working in accounting. But otherwise, I'll see you next time.